Senator Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 4 minutes.
Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the people of the territory, to the testifiers, central staff, as well as my staff. I would like to say thank you for everyone that extended birthday wishes yesterday. I was very happy as a 49-year-old. I don't hide my age. I'm happy for every year I'm alive. But thank you to the public as well. Dr. Wareheim, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. I want to ask you a quick question. You talked a little bit earlier about some of the issues that you had during the hurricane in trying to get insulin. What are some of the issues that you do see with even getting medicine or other healthcare supplies here in the territory that currently exist outside of a natural disaster?
Well, the hurricane posed a really interesting problem, and the fact that most pharmacies here get their medication straight from Puerto Rico caused a real problem. I couldn't even reach anybody in Puerto Rico after this happened. I had to call the headquarters. But what we usually do, backing up a little bit, what we usually do around hurricane season especially is we try to make sure we order extra of everything, insulins especially, if we can. They're quite expensive, so we do the best we can in having a good stock of that. But you also have to make sure you have, the right control, temperature control and everything in place, a generator, so that you can help people. When the storm happened, we had people come from I think half the pharmacies couldn't even open after that happened. We were one of the few that could open. And so we served people from all different places that they usually went. And when we saw that was starting to dwindle, then, I tried to make sure to order extra of that from there. But I also realized that I know the hospital and I think the Department of Health obtained a whole bunch of insulins, which they were able to give away, like maybe a few weeks down the line. If that could be a priority at hurricane season and they could have a stock of it that they'd have ready, that would also be helpful.
When it comes to being able to have continuous providing of potential pharmacists in the future, as a board member, what are some of the things you would do to encourage mentorship programs for students or young people here in the territory?
Well, mentorship programs, anytime we're contacted, what we could do is we could try and do some outreach and see who's interested in which schools, or put the information out there that we're willing to take a few students, and also maybe ask the other pharmacies as well, email them out, and around that time when they're all trying to they'd like to see what careers are available.
Okay.
They have more to choose from. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Valman, how are you? Are you there?
Good afternoon. Very well, thank you.
Hi.
Belated happy birthday.
Thank you. I want to ask you the question. As a potential member of the VI Housing Board, there are many safety concerns
30 seconds.
in regards to the constituents, whether it deals with mold and raw sewage and all these other things, these things that affect their lives. What are some of your ideas or plans to really tackle these issues so that people in housing could have a better quality of life?
Thank you, Senator, for that. Again, it comes right back to the process that is conducted, by the housing authority staff, guided by the Board of Commissioners, in terms of getting to the root causes of the issues and identify the best possible strategies to address those root causes. So we know it's complex, it's not simple, but that's why we are called to service to put our best efforts together to identify, I believe, starting with identifying the root causes and then identify the resources that we can use to address those causes. And again, my focus is on public health.
Thank you.
I anticipate being able to make that contribution
Appreciate it.
if nominated, if
can I
accepted.
ask my last question?
Since it's your birthday, 24 hours since your birthday, we'll allow you one more question, Senator.
I appreciate it. My last question is also to Ms. Valmon. I want to ask about accessibility in housing communities. And as you know, people with disabilities and how some of these housing communities were built previously, what are some of the guarantees or things you're going to focus on to make sure that accessibility is at the top priority to make sure that those with disabilities do have access to these housing communities or housing in general? Thank you.
Correct. Senator, I'm telling you, even as my role as Department of Health, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling his name, but Mr. Henley is such a huge advocate for ensuring that all aspects of the territory is adhering to and ensuring accessibility. But seriously, this is something even for us in the schools, in the Department of in the schools. So again, making sure that is always part of the planning, especially, like I said, I'm so stoked or excited about being able to get this opportunity if nominated and approved to be on the VIHA board at this point, because the plans are in place to totally redesign and revamp all the housing communities.
Oh, excellent.
There's our chance.
I'm happy to hear that.
To make a difference.
Well, I am not a member of this committee, but I am encouraging my colleagues to definitely, give you a nod of support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Francis Heiliger. Senator Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 4 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again to my colleagues, people of the territory, testifiers, nominees, central staff, and my staff. My first set of questions I want to ask Ms. Hodge. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am excellent. Good. One of the things I wanted to find out, because of the small amount of housing we have here, what is maybe one of your ideas of potentially expanding housing here in the territory? Do you have any thoughts as just being a part of the real estate board, because we're dealing with real estate?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a role that the government is central, has to be a central player. And as I understand it, the government has dedicated resources and focus to increasing the housing stock on all three islands. Like I said earlier in my testimony, housing inventory is extremely low. So just working in conjunction, however we can, to make those plans become a reality, marketing the properties, educating buyers on what they need to do to qualify for, buying a home, because if the home is there and you're not qualified, it's not going to do you much good. So really making sure that when buyers come to the table, they are prepared and ready to make a purchase.
Outside of
and that's
okay, in your testimony you spoke, I think it was the buyer's agent laws you referenced. Outside of that, what other types of solutions or ideas do you think should be infused into our laws to potentially assist with real estate? Do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, a lot of those I've actually been able to read. I don't know if it's changed since I last read it, but the bill that Senator Francis is putting before the Senate, as I mentioned earlier, property managers, there's very little oversight when it comes to property managers. As a real estate agent and having a brokerage, we are allowed to be property managers, so that sort of falls under our purview. But then you do have people that are out there practicing, I'm a property manager, I'm renting, a home, and there's no oversight. How are you handling people's money? Are security deposits being returned in a timely fashion? By law, you're supposed to return security deposits within 30 days. Is that happening? So I see that is in there, and I think that's an excellent addition. I lost my train of thought. Just having more oversight, education. As agents, we are required through the Virgin Islands Territorial Association of Realtors to have continuing education. So mirroring that in the law, which I see that is in there, is also important. There's no requirement to enter into the real estate industry. Other than mentoring, or you get your temporary license and you work under a brokerage.
Okay.
I'm not so sure how I feel about requiring people to take a course to enter the real estate industry, because a lot of people have hands-on experience that, to me, rivals any education you can get in a classroom. So I'm not sold on that.
30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Mr. McDonald. He just said 30 seconds. I'm trying to catch up. You spoke a little bit about the GIS system, and you seemed quite enthusiastic about your time there. Tell me some of the things do you think that you have learned, whether about residential, commercial, industrial, different types of properties that might be unique to the Virgin Islands, or you think we could potentially look at, whether as a positive way?
Thank you for the question. When it comes to residential, commercial, there's properties throughout the Caribbean. But what's really important is just where these properties are located, how they're being used, and how accessible they are to the people of the Virgin Islands. To just answer your question and elaborate more, with GIS and everything, even with the Office of Lieutenant Governor, who has, I'm not sure if you're familiar with MapGeo, it's an online platform that many realtors use specifically to identify different locations.
I love it.
And with that, individuals could go on and just, if they're not familiar with a location, they could read up and get information about property ID, who the owner is, contact information, and acreage size. So that's one of the key things that I really enjoy when it comes to just GIS, but then that's one of the key things when it comes to identifying commercial, residential, and everything properties in the Virgin Islands.
Okay. And I also like utilizing that software. You find out a lot of information you didn't know.
A lot.
Could I ask one final question of Mr. McDonald, Tibby?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Clearly, you're going to bring a younger perspective to real estate here if you're placed on the board. What are some of the things do you see for the future of the Virgin Islanders that you would want to see in order for their ability to attain home ownership, get a piece of the pie, etc.? Tell me what you see for the future for us.
That's a great question. Thank you for that question. For the future, what I see is that I see locals owning properties, and I see it in my heart. I see it every day. It's just bridging that gap and then giving opportunity to do so. In the past, I know it's been challenging for different reasons, but one of the things that I see is that as a young Virgin Islander living here, especially for individuals who have roots in the Virgin Islands, I see them taking a piece of property that has been passed down from generations to consistently manage it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the additional time.
Thank you very much, Senator Frances Heiliger. So bill number 34-0295. Senator Frances Heiliger, you may proceed with your introduction. Please recognize Senator Frances Heiliger's mic.
Good afternoon once again to my colleagues, testifiers, as well as the people of this territory, central staff, and my staff alike. I stand here or sit here with great pride bringing this piece of legislation forward, bill number 34-0295. As a Virgin Islander for 49 years, one of the things that I recognize is we talk a lot about making sure that we are very prideful in understanding our history and understanding where we came from, and recognizing and honoring all the people that made great sacrifices for us to be the Virgin Islanders that we are today. And Rothschild Francis should be honored for that. Unfortunately, he was a man before his time. He was in a time period where the Virgin Islands was transitioning from Danish to U.S. rule, where it was run by the Navy, and quite a bit of things did happen, unfortunately, to this individual in his attempts to propel and protect the people, the natives, the inhabitants of this territory in a way that they should have been treated positively. And unfortunately, in our society, even back then, the black race was regarded as something not even up to par. We were coming out of slavery here in the territory. And unfortunately, when you have the mindset that you should or you deserve better or you should be better, you should be treated better, you should be respected. Unfortunately, you're always going to have forces that are going to push back. You're always going to have individuals, sometimes even your own, that are going to turn against you. But Mr. Francis, sometimes often known as Polly, fought through all of these adversities because he believed the people of the Virgin Islands deserved nothing but the best. Whether he tried to do it through him as an individual, through his newspaper, whether he attempted to do it as a councilman, he persevered. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes to individuals such as this is they are persecuted. This individual was persecuted in ways that even when you take the time out to learn about the history, you would even be perplexed as to understand how some of these things even happened. And I am simply asking that if we are going to continuously speak about how great Virgin Islanders are, we need to clean up his story. He does not deserve to have these convictions attached to his name simply because he wanted to fight for the rights of Virgin Islanders. In this piece of legislation that we are bringing forward, initially we had written it in a way to request that the governor of the Virgin Islands is the individual to posthumously pardon him. But after we looked at all of the data and information, we had to do an amendment, which is also attached, that we are going to have to request it from the President of the United States. What we have to understand that even though he was convicted and he was imprisoned here locally, because of what was happening with the transitions, etc., these things he was convicted under federal rule. And that is where we had to make the transition because, like I said, these were local things that he was convicted of. And I'm sure as some of the testifiers will going to share with you, you will understand what was happening to this man. And as a proud 49-year-old Virgin Islander, born and raised, we have to do better by the people that fought for us. And today, I am hoping that myself and my colleagues are going to fight for him to make sure that his history is clean, because the very revised Organic Act, the fact that I sit here as a senator, I do to him is 100% due to his hard work and his effort in fighting to set up a government that I can stand here proud today and call myself Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Help me clean his name today. That is all I ask. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Francis Heiliger. Senator Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good afternoon once again to my colleagues, people of the territory, to the testifiers. I first and foremost would like to say thank you. I want to extend the greatest thanks to Dr. Brown, we worked diligently back and forth on this. I really, really appreciate all his hard work. Listen, these are the types of people that are in our territory that are so determined to right wrongs, to assist and make sure that the people of these Virgin Islands know their worth. I also would like to thank Kwabena, Mr. Davis, our historian that continues to educate us on many of the things that have happened in our territory. As a individual living here, I listen on the talk shows a lot of this back and forth about our history and Virgin Islands history and making sure that our children are educated to know who we are. And today was nothing short of a history lesson for me. And I'm very proud to sit here today because, when I hear of all the things that Mr. Francis had to endure, when I hear of all the things from the testimony and additional information that was shared here today, we as the people of the territory should not be nothing short of proud. This is the type of lineage we came from. These are the type of people that stood up and fought. And we have to understand as members of this institution that we always have to do what is right whenever the time is right. And right now is the right time. I don't want to drag it on because I know my my chairman here, He's limited on time. So I'm just humbly asking my colleagues here. I'm not a member of this committee, so I'm asking you to please vote in favor of this measure, Bill number 34-0295, and I'm asking you to make this wrong right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Francis Heiliger. Well said. Bill sponsor.
Thank you. I want to let Mr. Davis know I am in full support of that, because even sitting here having this conversation, we have already formulated a way to even additionally add in here the process we're going to go through to even strengthen, to guarantee that this happens. So
Thank you.
Me and you, we think alike.
On the same page. Thank you very much. Take our recess. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your point of personal privilege.
Thank you. I will make this brief. I just want to say thank you again to the testifiers that came here and shared a lot of history with us today, as well as I appreciate all of my colleagues who unanimously voted in support of this. And as we continue to move forward, just remember these simple words. It is always the right time to do what is right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Senator Francis Heiliger. The committee